Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Courtside with Beilinson Tennis, part of the Tennis Channel Podcast Network. We are privileged to have an amazing guest with us on tonight. Some of his accomplishments include the following. On August 16th, 2004, at the age of 17, this guest became the first African-American to capture the boys 18's USTA National Hard Court title in singles in the tournament's 89-year history. Also in 2004, this guest reached the semifinals of Junior Wimbledon, quarterfinals of Junior US Open, as well as the Junior Australian Open, and was ranked number 6 in the ITF Junior rankings. Professionally, this guest reached a career-high ranking of 187 and faced Rafael Nadal in the second round of the 2005 US Open and faced Roger Federer in the first round of the 2007 US Open. He's currently in his third season as the associate head men's tennis coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Please welcome to the pod, Scoville Jenkins. Coach Jenkins, thank you so much for taking time tonight and walking us through your tennis journey.
Hey, David, thanks for having me. I look forward to this.
Well, hey, I mean, we got a lot to unpack here. I was a big fan of yours while you were on tour. And first off, I just want to say, hope you and your family are staying safe. And two, I understand, man, you're a new father. Congratulations. And how's that all going?
Well, thanks, David. It's going great. I can't describe it. You know, it's in words. It's no sleep, but excitement, joy, blessing, all of it in one. It's pretty amazing.
Do you have a tennis racket in his hand yet or not quite?
Not quite. I'm trying to get the left hand going, but I think he's right-handed. But I still have hope when the left hand can come in someday.
All right. Sounds good. So we're going to get into your junior and professional career in a bit, along with how you got into college coaching. But first, why don't you let us know how you got started in the sport, and was there a point in time where you may have said, you know, wow, I'm pretty good at this, and this may help me get through college, or in your case, not even go to college and go straight to the professional ranks?
So I got into tennis. I started playing about 7 years old. My parents have no tennis background, so they played for recreationally for fun in Alta in Atlanta, Georgia. So they got me into tennis as something to do after school. Basically, that was it. It wasn't something to go to college or go pro. It was just something to do after school. And so I played basketball as well and soccer. But then about 14, 15, I just started playing tennis and took that very seriously. I would say about 15, after I played my first Kalamazoo 16s, and I saw all the colleges that were calling my parents, that's when I kind of realized, man, I think I'm pretty good at this. If I can get, you know, UCLA and Harvard or Stanford, or, you know, calling my parents and sending letters, like I must be pretty good at this.
That's pretty special. So we talked a little bit about some of those junior highlights, and you know, we will say you know, while you did capture the boys 18's USTA National Hard Court title, you were the first African American to capture that. I think the next 2 years you had Donald Young who won it, right? So you'll always be the first, but you won't be the only one, and that's a good thing, right?
That's a great thing. It's great to be the first. Nobody can take that away from me, but I'm happy I'm not the only one. And I know Donald won it, then Francis Tiafoe, he won as well after Donald. So that's great. That's great that it's great that I can be the one that kind of started, and then we can just keep it rolling.
Yeah. And what other I mean, you had through all your junior career, I mean, were there a couple things that really stood out to you before you decided to turn professional?
Kind of what do you mean there, David? Like stood out to me?
I mean, whether it was a junior slams, whether it was winning Kalamazoo, was there a certain match? Was there something that said, "Wow, this is pretty freaking cool"?
So I turned pro in about May of 2004, right before Kalamazoo and before the Junior French Open. And so the thing with me was I was playing a mixture of future tournaments and junior tournaments, ITFs mostly. And when I was playing these futures tournaments, I was playing a lot of college guys when I was about 15, 16. And I was either beating them or competing very well with All-Americans. And I could notice, like, wow, if I'm at 16 already, you know, competing with 2-3-time All-Americans, at top schools, maybe I can compete with professionals, at the next level. Like, I felt like a lot of those college guys were ready to play at the next level, and I was right there. And so I think the juniors gave me confidence, but playing those futures and being able to win matches, I really felt like, man, I think I could be a player.
So with that success, was it pretty easy for you to skip the college ranks and go pro right away? Or obviously you had a ton of schools that were interested in you. Was that a tough choice to make? And I believe when we were talking, prepping for this, you actually did take a college visit, correct?
I did. I took one unofficial visit, and that was the University of Florida. That was a very hard decision. Like I told you before, I played a lot of futures and small liver pro events, and I saw how tough it was out there compared to playing the juniors. And I didn't think I was really ready. But people my father was pushing me, coach was pushing me, everybody was pushing me, to be a professional. And ultimately I wanted to be a professional. That was my goal, was to be a professional. And so 2004, 2005, when I graduated high school, was in 2005, that was very different now than it was back then. Back then, going to college, a lot of people just didn't go to college. If you were a top pro, if you were a top junior, you went pro. And if you weren't, you went to college. That's how it kind of was. And so I had opportunities from sponsors and agents, to really go pro. And that was my goal. Like, I just wanted to be a professional at whatever it took. And so when I had the opportunity to go pro, when I signed with Octagon, when I was about 17 years old, then that's when I knew, like, as long as I had the opportunity, I thought I was ready to go.
Right. Now, I remember watching you several years. This is one of my favorite tournaments to go. I live 20 minutes away from the site at the Winnacunnet Challenger. And it was there where I met your father, who, by the way, is one of the nicest guys. I met him a couple of years when I attended there. Talk about the model of a tennis parent. I don't know what he was like when you were really young going through it, but talking with him and watching him, observing him while you were competing professionally, I mean, talk about a model tennis parent. So shout out to him. I know, again, in talking with Prep, in talking and prepping for this interview, you enjoyed that tournament. And for the listeners, you battled, I think, Kevin Anderson more than one time in that tournament. I think you competed against Kevin in like a few tournaments in a row, right?
I did. So Winnacunnet is one of my, as far as like challenger level tournaments, I think it's one of my favorite. They treat the players so well there. And one of the years I played there, I played Kevin Anderson maybe in the quarterfinals. And that stretch in that summer, I think that was like the fourth or fifth time we had played each other consecutively in a row in a tournament. Not necessarily first round. Actually, we only played each other first round one time. It was we played in the finals of the future, and I ended up like Kevin and I ended up being good friends, but we were fierce competitors against each other. And every time we played, nobody won 2 times in a row. You either won or you lost. That's how tough it was. We always against each other. We kept taking notes on what to do next time. I know I always would.
Here's an interesting story, and we didn't even talk about this, but I remember one year you made the semis and you lost to a guy, and I wish I knew this name. It just came to me now. That's why I didn't do the prep. But you lost to a guy in the semis who then later that summer beat Andre Agassi, I want to say, in Washington, D.C. or something. It was Andre's late in his career. Maybe it was 2005 or 2006. But he beat Andre early round, and Andre was struggling. He had injuries and back injuries. I don't remember that name. Do you?
He was an Italian guy.
Yes.
And that wasn't my first time playing him. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
He was an Italian, though. You're right. Oh.
Yeah. And I had played him before as well. Okay. And I think I had beat him before. And he beat me in the semis there. And I was very upset after that because I think I beat him prior to that.
Did you? Yeah, I remember that match. He played you were rolling that week, and he just played he had a great week there, and he played very well. But that's funny. That guy beat you, and then later that summer he beat Andre. Talk a little bit about playing on the biggest stage, right? And you played 2 of the greatest of all time. I mean, no one could ever take that away from you. What was it like? And again, Rafa was basically a kid when you played him, but you obviously knew how good he was. And then obviously Roger, both at the U.S. Open, Rafa in 2005, Roger 2007. What were some things that you noticed about both those guys that you can share with us?
Well, the first thing you notice about playing Nadal is his anticipation, and he's just like relentless on the court. You can't get a ball by him. Even if you think that you're on the offense and you could have a ball on top of the net, he'll somehow still feel like you have to hit it out of the stadium to get it by him.
How did that ball feel? How did that ball feel to you when you had to hit it? I mean, had you ever seen a ball like that consistently, that heavy, that much spin?
No, I had never seen a ball like that. That was the first year that he won the French Open. So that year in 2005, he played a lot different than he does now. He was more defensive then. But I could tell, like, if you got the ball to his forehand side where he was neutral, the point was over. And you would have had to have a great backhand to be able to get out of that rally. Like, it was just too tough. And you had to have some confidence. You have to really play him. You have to go for a lot. You got to really be aggressive. And if you're not, he's the best. He's the most consistent player in the world. Like, he just won't miss.
and Roger?
Roger, he has every tool in the toolbox. His slice was the best slice I'd ever seen. I remember going to that match, my coach and I, we watched so much Roger Federer are so long. And, he remember telling me he's got that short chip backhand of his.
Short chip slice. Brutal.
It's like he's baiting you to come in. If you go up the line, you're going to his forehand. It's done. If you don't hit it good enough cross court, he can go anywhere with the backhand. So I remember he's like, you just got to hit hard up the middle, and you almost have to, like, give him no angle because he can turn it on. I never played somebody like that they could maybe miss 2-3 balls in a row and then just turn it on for the next set. I'd never seen that before in my life.
I remember reading a quote from you, I think, after that match, and a lot of players said the same thing. Like, he never makes his opponent feels comfortable. You're never hitting the same ball like twice in a row. You can never get in a rhythm. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I would say the biggest thing with him is you're playing chess out there with him, and he's just constantly a step ahead of you, and you know it. Every shot he hits is to set up the next shot. And when you're playing him, I'm thinking, if I don't hit this good enough, then I already know what he's going to do to me. I watched him do it on TV millions of times, and so you're always feeling like he's outthinking you, outplaying you. He's a step ahead of you. You're always feeling under pressure. Like, if I don't do something, he's just going to go back into, I don't know, maybe hitting a great forehand cross up the line, a slice short to then go me up the line. Like, I have to be on the offense. You feel so much pressure to be able to do something, or he will embarrass you. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it's super cool that you got to share the court on the biggest stage against those two guys. So thanks for talking about that. So you then, after your professional playing career, you then transitioned into coaching, and you specifically got into collegiate coaching. And we're going to talk about that. I mean, you started at Kennesaw State. You then went to University of Washington, followed by spending 4 years in Wisconsin with the Wisconsin Badgers, and now you're in Stillwater. I mean, obviously, with all your playing experiences, you have so much to offer. Was college coaching something in your sights? I mean, I know we again, in talking, getting your degree was important, so that may have seemed a natural fit for you to get into this arena.
Well, so I had a really good friend I grew up with, played college tennis at LSU. And he was a 2-time All-American in doubles there, and we stayed really close. We're still very close. And so I would go visit him at LSU at times that I had off. And there was one year I was hurt and I couldn't play French Open, and LSU was playing in the Sweet 16, I believe, in Athens, Georgia. So I drove down to watch that match. And right after that match, I think Georgia, with John Isner playing one, was playing UCLA at night. And I just absolutely thought that was the best atmosphere, environment I had ever seen on a tennis court before. And keep in mind, at this time, I had played on Arthur Ashe. I had been to every Grand Slam, Indian Wells, and I played on a lot of big stages, and I had never seen something like that before.
Wow.
Where that environment, it was breathtaking. It gave me the chills. And I always thought, wow, like this is really cool. And I wanted, like, I didn't know much about college tennis, like other than, you know, playing 1 through 6, that was it.
Right.
And so after that, I wanted to get more information, and I wanted to get into college tennis. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to experiment with it. I thought it was one of the most amazing things I ever seen on a tennis court before.
Yeah, I mean, growing up playing juniors, unless you're playing doubles or whatever, and that's only with you and your partner, you're really not in that team type of environment. Now you're seeing more of that on the Pro Tour and how everybody is enjoying it so much, whether it's Laver Cup or whether World Team Tennis, which just completed their season, which was amazing. And they're seeing more of the team environment. The players and the fans are loving it. So you were kind of hooked from the get-go, huh?
I was hooked from the start. And it wasn't even like, I can remember watching the tennis match, and I remember looking at the stands, and I was like, wow, this is like, I think there was 10,000 people.
Wow.
And the atmosphere was just amazing. And I always thought, like, wow, like if you play in this atmosphere, this is like a special atmosphere to play in. This is unbelievable. You know, that these guys get to do this, and they're playing for their school like this. I was sitting in the stands. I was jealous. I was like, wow, this was amazing.
So cool. So, I mean, you played at the highest level, right? And you played against the best of the best. When you got into coaching, was this something that you initially thought, you know, heck, man, I played Rafa, I played Roger, I played on the highest of stages. Coaching is going to be easy. I know the game. Was there some type of wake-up call? Because obviously just because you played at an elite level does not necessarily mean you'll be a great coach. And it goes vice versa, right? There are people who don't play at nearly the level you did, and they're fantastic coaches. So maybe talk about your transition and all the stuff that you had to learn as far as language and temperament and everything that goes along with it.
Well, my coach that I had growing up from about 14 to 20 years old, he wasn't a very good player. And I really trusted him. He was an unbelievable tennis mind, still is unbelievable tennis mind. So I knew that just because I played doesn't mean I know everything or I know more than you or I can do this. Like, I knew my playing career would help, but I also knew, like, the relationships. My coach and I have built such a great relationship, and that's what really helped my tennis. So I understood, like, going into this, like, for people to really trust me on the court and to be their coach, it's not going to be because I was a great player. They have to really trust me. I have to invest in them, you know, like they invest in this program. And so that was my biggest thing was I didn't want to go into this thinking I had this great junior career. I was a good pro. You got to do what I tell you to do, you know, and that's the way it is. You know, it was more like I wanted to do this together. You know, I started off my coaching career. I still do the conditioning with the guys. I love to hit in and play sets, baseline points, and just grind with them. That was my biggest thing. And so as far as the level, though, it was a little different as far as level of tennis to get used to. But I went into it with an open mind, and I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to learn how about the business of college tennis.
Well, I have this next question on my list here, and I think just talking with you, you're pretty hooked on the college game. But if there was someone particular that really got your attention, and they said, "Coach, would you go on tour with me?" Would that be something that you would be interested in, or are you pretty much happy with college tennis, and especially at Oklahoma State right now?
I'd be absolutely interested in it. I haven't been on tour since I played. I haven't coached a professional on tour, but that would be absolutely, it's a challenge, and I love a challenge. And if it was somebody that I really believed in and we believe in each other, absolutely I'd be interested in it. I would never shut down that door, ever.
And I think, you have a new family now, so we're going to need to we're going to get to some consensus on your family if you have to start traveling, 45 weeks of the year. But no,
It'll be a
it's
little tough,
interesting.
that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting, and it's interesting to hear your thoughts on it. Well, this was fun. I mean, we covered what we wanted to cover. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I appreciate you walking us through your journey. Again, I was a big fan of yours growing up, watching you play on tour, and it was fun following you. It's fun watching your journey through the coaching ranks. And, before we ended, it's a crazy time right now. And we've heard some news, certain, college programs are getting cut. There was a big one that got cut the other day after this season with the University of Iowa. So we know all the craziness that's going on right now with the virus and everything. And hopefully, we get through this sooner rather than later. No more programs get cut. And I want to wish you and your team, first of all, be safe. Best of luck this coming year, 2020, 2021. Hopefully there's not too many stops and starts here. And again, to your new family, man, stay safe and best of luck. And thank you for doing this tonight, Scoville. I really appreciate it.
David, I really appreciate you reaching out to me. I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's great. I hope that we can all play tennis, college tennis in the spring of 2021. I think it'd be great for everybody, and nobody wants to see any programs get cut or anybody have to suffer. So I hope everything turns around. I hope we can be better.
Agree 100%. Thanks a lot, Coach. We'll talk soon.
All right, David. Thanks so much.
Bye.